Right now, I really struggle with not restricting and not over exercising and trying to keep weight on. I am very afraid of actually like getting sick, like even nausea or vomiting, just because I don't want those habits to come back. But yeah, the restrictive eating, especially like going through postpartum depression with my second, it was really hard because I didn't even want to live. And so I was going to just try and make myself smaller. But because I knew I had kids and I couldn't let my kids down.
Hello, and welcome to Find Your Fuel, the podcast where we bring you authentic stories from women just like you who've overcome different physical, mental, and emotional struggles and found the fuel to live their best lives. I'm your host, Erin Martin, and today we're diving into the battle with disordered eating, body image, and diet culture. If you're a mom, if you're struggling with a past of disordered eating, or if you just want encouragement to stop judging your own body, this conversation is for you. And I'm honored to introduce a guest who is so brave and open about her journey to healing. Today we have Alex Fabry here to share her story, which began in middle school when comments about her body and food led to an eating disorder that later required inpatient treatment. And then her journey continued through struggles with postpartum challenges, depression, and the emotional toll of 2 miscarriages. Today, Alex shares her struggle to accept her body, her experience in finding support, and how she works every day to shift her perspective. And also now is a mom of 3, teaching her sons about balanced nutrition, body cues, and her powerful realization, I need to stay alive for my kids. So we'll dive into Alex's story.
I have really struggled with disordered eating and body image issues. I grew up in the 90s, and there's just a lot of diet culture and a lot of information that we don't know even now, or the information that we didn't have that we have now. Um, And so being exposed to that at such an early age, plus my parents going through a divorce, I think that was a really hard time for me. And that was how I dealt with stress. And it's not a very healthy way to deal with stress. And um, it's been a really long journey of trying to heal a lot of that. I think I've come a really long way, but I've learned a lot from running, through pregnancy, through surrounding myself with people who are positive.
And for you, I know that it's so wild. I think especially as we're parents now and mom,
Hmm.
to think about what we grew up with versus
Yeah.
what our kids are growing up with, or even, some other generations. And
Hmm.
like the memes out there are hilarious on, the millennials growing up and the environment that
Seriously.
we had. So I'm curious for you, when you say kind of that growing up with the diet culture and then disordered eating, what did that look like for you in terms of in the household, the things that you would hear that looking back, you're like, oh, that's pretty messed up.
Yeah,
How did
and
that show for you?
nothing against my family. My family is amazing. My mom is an amazing mom. But she always had like a South Beach diet book or had the prevention magazines around. And then you would watch like America's Next Top Model, and they would prize you on being as small as possible. Or my grandmother would either say that I'm not eating enough or eating too much, and she still does this. She's 90 years old. I'm not going to correct her now, but like, oh, you're too thin, or people commenting on other people's bodies. And, like I remember sitting or in middle school and getting a look from people and some of my peers about how I looked, because I think what started my disordered eating was stress eating, especially going through like seeing my mom diet and then go through divorce, experiencing that as a kid, and I stress ate, and I was a very large kid. I think I was a large kid. My mom and my family probably would say opposite, but you would get a look and you were getting judged, and you were getting talked to. And I ate lunch in the bathroom. And then from there, it spiraled into binging, purging, and then restrictive eating, over exercising. Yeah. Having a bunch of the dieting books in the house and the talk around like gaining weight and losing weight within my family, it was really hard. And I was the only girl too. So,
Mm.
even if my brothers were a little bit bigger, they were still athletic and they were still boys, and that's how they are. But I was a girl and I was supposed to look a certain way. So I think that impacted me in a way that I didn't realize it until much later in life.
Yeah, and it's wild too when you have some space and got a frontal cortex now because you're
Mhm,
actually grown and you can reflect back. What were the core values that came about through what people would say or value within the family? And you realize, oh, yeah, there's a ton of value being placed in how you look, and that's an
mhm,
important thing. And being this size is important. And then if you're seeing that inside the family, in addition to the really skinny toothpick look that was that, I think the Clarissa Flockhart
mhm,
quote of "Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels," like, that is
mhm.
the quote of that generation. Like,
Yep.
that was just embedded in us. I remember that quote floating around in high school and everybody trying to live by it. It's like, "What? That is so messed
Mhm.
up now." We're
Yeah.
thinking back on that.
And when you see clips from the 90s and like male interviewers interviewing women from early 2000s, late 90s, and on how they commented on each other's bodies, you don't know that that is impacting you, but it is. It's absolutely wild. You're like, oh, that makes way more sense. Or like the Yoplait diet or the Yoplait yogurt diet or how, whatever it was.
Yes. Yeah. So fast forward then, when did all of it kind of come to a head and you end up getting treatment? Like, what was that process like for you?
I think I first saw a therapist about it in my freshman year in high school. I had dealt with it. I think that's when it really kind of started. And then I was actually sent to a hospital for eating disorder in my junior year, I want to say. And I was there for 2 weeks for inpatient and then continued outpatient from my hometown. And I just still had issues. I just could not get over it's an addiction is what it is. And it's really unfortunate that like you can't live without food. You can live without a lot of things, but not food. And I just couldn't let go of it. I couldn't let go of those eating habits. And I had asked to go back to that institution my senior year in high school. And I was there for 3 weeks and still nothing had changed. I had gotten better and I had gotten mentally stronger. And then it really spiraled again because I had gained weight and I didn't like how I looked. And I was going into my freshman year of college and I was 18, so I could do whatever I wanted. So I didn't continue with therapy. I really struggle with therapists because I don't feel like a lot of them helped me because I am so aware of a lot of things that it was really hard to talk to some therapists. But when I went off to college, it had really spiraled out of control. And I remember a point where I hit my lowest weight, was dizzy going into the shower. I remember clumps of hair coming out, and I'm like, this isn't good. Didn't go to my classes that day because I felt like I was going to pass out, and that was the first time I had ever felt like that. And I'm like, I can't do this. I need to go home. Dropped out of college and still like ongoing battle of trying to gain weight, but not knowing how to do that in a healthy way, in a way that like my mental state would be also healed, because then I was not having good relationships with males. And I felt like I was really struggling with female friendships and really struggling to find myself. Like early 20s is a hard time for anyone.
Yeah. Yes. Coming of age is rough.
It's terrible. I hated my 20s, and a lot of it for this reason. I have a great group of friends now who have been through a lot of this stuff with me, and I really like they're the real ones. It's amazing. But I remember still really struggling with the bulimia portion of it, and I had thrown up blood once, and I was really scared. I'm like, I need help. I really need help. And I know my boyfriend at the time, which is now my husband, he was really concerned too. And he really helped me get over the sitting with food in the stomach type of feeling, and was trying to adjust my diet with how I felt comfortable eating. You know, I was vegetarian and I was vegan because I was comfortable, but I was eating things. So, and then eventually I got back into eating meats and cheese and things like that. So right now I really struggle with not restricting and not over exercising and trying to keep weight on. I am very afraid of actually like getting sick, like even nausea or vomiting, just because I don't want those habits to come back. And I really don't think they would on purpose. But yeah, the restrictive eating, especially like going through postpartum depression with my second, it had really It was really hard because I didn't even want to live. And so I was going to just try and make myself smaller. But because I knew I had kids and I couldn't let my kids down. So that's what I struggle with right now is being able to fuel and being able to live a little bit more freely with food. And luckily, I'm in an algorithm on my social medias that are very body positive and are very positive towards fuel and food. And so as long as I surround myself with that positivity, it's a lot easier for me to be like, okay, I don't need to be so rigid. I can have butter with my food. I can have cream in my coffee. So, but it is a daily battle still.
Yeah, and I think that's such an incredibly good tip you called out for anyone in life. If you are the 5 people that you spend your time with, you are the social feed that you feed yourself every day with. So why not
Hmm.
curate it just like you do your friends? And if you're going to be on social media that much, exactly what you're doing of knowing and proactively controlling your own feed to support the love, the like tips, the type of like positive body support that you need in that type of platform is so good because
Hmm.
it can totally influence you. Like that's how we get to a bad mindset of I'm not enough, I don't have enough because we're just looking at all these things all day thinking that this is what everybody in life has when it's like
Hmm.
no, that is not reality. Like this is a messed up algorithm feed getting thrown at your face. You need to control your algorithm. You can't have an algorithm control you. So I love
Hmm.
that you do that because I think there's such power in that. And I also feel that deeply because I've done the same with mine. I was off social media for so long and then jump back in for this podcast. And I was like, okay, like if I'm going to be on Instagram, I'm going to make sure it's positive ass women who are strong. I'm getting good vibes all the time. And if there's something that I don't want to see, like don't hover on it. Don't try
Hmm.
to like even, give it any type of like screen time because that's what will trigger viewing it more. So I just wanted to pause on that because I think that is such a great tip in and of itself.
Absolutely. And I think the really great thing, there's obviously a lot of negatives with social media and it can be really consuming both time and mental space. But I do feel like there is some positivity. There are a lot of women and men supporting other women and men, and how, like, it doesn't matter what you look like. You completed a marathon, you did a triathlon, you are lifting weights, like you go, that's amazing. And I just love that so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I got just as many like encouraging comments when I did my first pull up and posted it on Instagram as my friends too. So it's like it's wild what a cool community you can have at your back if you make sure to curate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And going back, so you kind of just like snuck in some major postpartum on top of everything that you had already mentioned, which is wild. And so you didn't have postpartum with your first, but you did with your second.
Yeah. So, and it's so funny. So I had two miscarriages before my first, and kind of going back just a little bit, I had gained some weight and couldn't get it off. I didn't feel like I was in my body and just didn't feel good. And then I got pregnant and I wanted to protect that baby so bad. And he is so great. I love all my kids, but he is very special because he is our rainbow baby. And so didn't have it with him. I was really happy after I had given birth and I had lost some weight. But 6 months postpartum, I got pregnant again. And we didn't think it would happen just because we struggled with infertility as well. So we were like huge shock. So I don't think got the chance to really experience postpartum with my first because I was pregnant. And so then with my second, didn't, for me, it was fine the first 3 months and then you go back to work. And then I just feel like I felt like I was really failing at work, that I was not doing a good job. And to me, if I don't do a good job or if I'm feeling like I'm not doing a good job, I'm a worthless human. I am not good. I am terrible. And I think that's just some, back history of whatever I have. And so things really started to spiral. And there was a time where I was driving home from work and I'm like, why don't I just drive out the road? And I was like, oh, I think I need some help. And it was really hard. I think a good 3 to 4 months, all I could think of was I need to stay alive for my kids. I need to stay here for my kids. They are here for me. Sorry, I'm probably gonna start crying.
That's okay. You'll probably get me to cry.
I didn't think I hadn't cried about it in a really long time. And with that, I think I lost a lot of appetite and then just naturally started to lose weight and started to restrict. And then was put on some medication and got some help, and I was seeing a therapist, and, that had really helped a lot, and so I was really afraid to get pregnant with another child. I thought we were gonna be done. I really didn't wanna go through that mental struggle again. I was like, my fitness was really good because I was running a lot, and I was starting to get fast again, and, my husband really wanted a third, and so I was like, "You know what? We'll give it 5 months, and we'll see if we get pregnant again," and lo and behold, the last month and so experienced it a little bit with my third, but not as much because I made the transition of being a stay-at-home mom, and I think that helped a lot. I still have points in the postpartum where I I didn't intentionally restrict, but I think there was some stress going on because I felt really nauseous and I couldn't eat, or if I was eating, I was vomiting. And so I think there was just stress there. But after the first month or two, it got a lot better. And I still have like postpartum rage every once in a while because no one warned you about that either. Oh
No.
my God. It was terrible. You want to like throw things all the time. So this is a message to any pregnant woman out there who's experienced postpartum rage or is going to be like, it's a thing. Your feelings are valid. It's okay.
Yeah, and I think especially with just postpartum as well too, that's not something that is wildly talked about. I mean, you don't want to
No,
scare a new mother by being like, "Hey, after you have a baby, you might want to kill yourself." That you're not openly saying that bluntly to a new mom. You're
right.
not trying to rain on their parade. But that happens. I have friends who've gone through some really bad postpartum depression, and it feels like I have this strong feeling that I just shouldn't be here and life is better without me and my family would be
Hmm.
way better without me. It's kind of like miscarriages. Never
Yeah.
You never really think about them or hear too many stories until you have them. And then you hear a little bit more about women opening up about them and their experience. And all of a sudden you realize, holy shit, like there are millions of women who have gone through this. But going into
Hmm.
this, you feel so isolated and that you're the problem and something's wrong with you because you don't
Hmm.
hear of it all the time. So it's
Yeah.
kind of wild that before and after when it's like, yes, like buckle up. There's some weird ass shit that can happen when you become a mom.
It kind of drives you crazy too, because my second miscarriage, I'm pretty sure it was a chemical pregnancy. I remember
Which,
going
what does
into the
that mean?
ER. So it's essentially like the embryo is not developing properly, and then I believe so. I should know this because I worked in OB, but I don't remember. But I'm pretty sure it doesn't like attach to the uterine lining correctly, and so it just essentially like
Mm,
kind of comes off. So you have those pregnancy hormones, but then it doesn't develop, and then it
attach.
goes. Yeah. And I remember going into the ER because, of course, it was on a weekend where urgent care. Last time I went into urgent care, they didn't help, so I went into ER, and the doctor comes in after I get my urine test. He's like, "Are you sure you were pregnant?" I was like, "Yes, I have the pictures. Do you want to see them?" He's like, "No, you are terrible. You're going to make me cry even more."
Yeah.
I really do think I loved OB, and I think that helped open my eyes up a lot to trying to conceive and miscarriage and then postpartum. And so I think that really helped with my third pregnancy too, going into it. Plus, I worked with an amazing doctor. She's great. And I loved my midwife team. So they're absolutely amazing.
And
I
going
loved
through that
OB.
process of the miscarriages too, I'm curious how that process was on your end. I know for me, I also, just like you, had two, and it's
Mm,
wild enough to go through one and what is that experience, but then to have two, it's yeah, devastating. So
hmm.
I'm curious how that was for you.
It was really tough. I remember we were pregnant. Gosh, it was if I was going to be running a 5K that morning, and I had said to my husband, I'm like, I probably shouldn't get attached because I know miscarriage can happen. And I ran a 5K, and then we went out for breakfast, and I was bleeding, and I blamed it on myself. And I'm like, I ran because I ran too hard, and I jinxed myself or something. And like, you truly do go through contractions because your
Oh
body is
yeah,
getting rid of that
100%.
baby.
Yes.
It's crazy, and no one tells you that.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I didn't even think to go to like the ER or the urgent care for where we were at the time because we weren't in our hometown. And so I was trying to make calls. I was getting these pregnancy tests because they kept saying positive or kept saying negative, and you feel like you're going crazy, and you're like, "What is happening?" Because again, no one tells you how a miscarriage is, like, or what it is. And every time I was on the phone with a nurse, they couldn't tell me anything. So I think that didn't help. And so I blamed myself a lot. I blamed myself for running. And then when the second one happened, you're just like, is this going to happen? And you just hear stories of other women. And I have a friend who went through several rounds of IVF and she has a daughter now and she actually is pregnant naturally now, which is absolutely amazing. But experiencing that loss over and over, I could not imagine. But then you see people who live such an unhealthy lifestyle, who have 7 kids. You're like, why? Why is that happening? I hope they're good mothers and I hope they're good people, but it's just, it makes you question a lot of things in your life.
Yeah, like, what am I doing wrong?
Why
Yeah.
me?
Yes. Yeah, I remember feeling that way, and similarly, oh my gosh, being on the phone with the nurse, and they did not even tell me to go in. I mean, they were just like, "That's not normal." Like, "Good luck." It was like,
Hey, what do you want me to do?
yeah, thanks. Like, it was, yeah,
God.
the absolute worst. So then, yeah, you're just having a miscarriage at home by yourself, hopefully with a significant other, trying to like, you're like, okay, well, I guess, I'm not pregnant anymore then. Cause at some point they're like, well,
Hmm.
yeah, some bleeding's okay. And it's like, well, at what point is it not okay? So you're just
Right.
experiencing this crazy new thing all by yourself, trying to figure it out. Yeah, that's rough.
And the fact that, like, even if you're bleeding, some bleeding is, again, is normal, kind of depends on your situation, but some of that bleeding can end up in miscarriage. So yeah, no matter, regardless, it's scary. So yeah, the information that we don't have, you take back in health class, and we learned if we kept a tampon in for too long, you have toxic shock syndrome. We know nothing about menstrual cycles. We know nothing about birth or pregnancy.
Yeah, even today. I mean, oh my gosh, I am learning so much about my body as a
Yeah.
40-year-old. Like, what the hell? Like, it only took me 40 years to learn what a follicular and luteal phase is.
Right? It's
No big deal.
crazy. I know. And I'm glad, like, that's part of the internet that I love too, is that there's so much of that information out that you can actually find where it wasn't when we were younger.
Yeah, and we're sharing more. I hear of more women who are open about their experience with their own miscarriage because there's a million different ways that it can happen too. You can have it naturally at home, you can go in and get a DNC. There's all
Hmm.
these different ways that is a way of processing it that is just can be wildly different, and hearing other people's stories is huge to feel less alone and
Yeah.
know that it's something that happens to millions of other women, and same with postpartum.
Yeah.
I mean, that one is just it's unfortunately common. And so I'm curious with all of that. I mean, that's like the confluence of in isolation, big things that are going on
Hmm.
that you just
Well,
kind of
that's the
packaged all
surface.
together to try to survive through. So, yeah, what were the tools in your tool belt? How was your mindset? Looking back, was it for you that got you through all those pieces?
I believe there's a higher power somewhere. If it's God, it's God. If it's a spirit, whatever it is, I really leaned into the church that we were going to at the time. We were really good friends with the pastor. He's still a really good family friend. I was talking to him, was reading a lot of not prayer journals, like just not even self-help books, but like positivity things and trying to learn more about like, okay, why is this happening? What can we do to help not prevent it, but to like help get through it? And journaled a lot. It's so funny with journaling. I have really good intentions about it, and then I stop like 2 months in. I'm like, that's but I was journaling quite a bit. I was reading a lot more. And actually, like reading fantasy had started, and it just takes you out of reality, and that's kind of nice. And so I got really immersed into the Sarah J. Maas books.
Been there, read them all, loved them all.
So good. Throne of Glass, I think I've listened to 7 times, and I'm
Oh,
not
I
ashamed
love
of it
it.
because it's fantastic. It's my favorite series. So really throwing myself into the fantasy world because it just kind of takes you out of reality and like not have to think about your issues. And so that helped a lot talking to friends. I have a close friend who, or two close friends who had gone through either infertility or struggles with their pregnancy or miscarriage, and that helps quite a bit. You know, talking to my mom, I don't think she ever dealt with a lot of the same issues that I did, but at least having another listening ear really, really helped. Again, surrounding yourself with more positive women. I'm actually good friends with my midwife, and talking to her, even like I popped into her office and I'll just sit there and yap and whatever. My doctor I used to work for, we text at least once a week still. And she's like, yep, just talk to me anytime. I don't care. And so having those tools in my tool belt have helped quite a bit.
Yeah, and related to the mental kind of reframe and being mentally strong, I loved what you said about just being able to take a break. I was talking to my husband the other day where he was like, "Do you have a running dialogue in your head going on at all
Yes.
times?" And I was like, "Yeah, like do you not?" Yes, of course there's a running dialogue in my head. And he's like, "That's wild to me." He's like, "I do not have a running dialogue." Like, no.
All the time.
Yeah, he's like, "That sounds horrible." And I've never thought of it as horrible, but it is. You're just mentally always thinking of the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. So I think to be mentally strong, you need mental breaks. And so often, reading, running, yoga, meditation, I mean, name it. Name the activity where you can get out of your head, into your heart, into your body, take a beat, and have that moment of break before you can get back into it is
Yep.
really needed.
Yep. I use music a lot. I love music.
Music,
So
yes.
great. And actually swimming, I
Mm.
find that I even like that voice in my head calms down a lot more than just running. So yeah, swimming laps for some reason. I'm like just trying to get through the
Yeah, swimming's so great because of when you're underwater too, you're really forced to get into a flow state. If you're running, you're like, "Oh, I'm going to listen to this podcast. I'm going to listen to this audiobook or music." You still have stimulation coming
Mhm.
in as opposed to dead quiet flow state.
Yep. Yeah, love swimming.
Yeah. And I'm rewinding to one post and quote that I saw you say that I wanted to read, which I just loved, was, "I'm not the girl I used to be because that girl didn't survive, and I'm what came after." So I just love that because it's it's acknowledging who you were, but that it got you to where you are today. Because I think the second
Mhm.
piece of that you said was, I might be embarrassed about my past, but it led me here to this mindset. And for that, I'm grateful. And I love that because I think so often we can get caught in our own heads or be so embarrassed of previous things that have happened to us, or wish we would have done this, wish we would have done that, wish we could go back in time. And it's like, no, but that's who makes us who we are today and the mindset that we have today. So I was wondering if you could share or just expand a little bit more on that and kind of what you feel like that before girl was versus your mindset now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still really I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I'm a very emotional person, and just even the way I reacted to situations even a year ago is like, wow, I would react so differently now. I think it's because you are reframing your mind to, okay, I was young. I can't think clearly. I was clearly going through whether it was postpartum pregnancy, being lack of energy just because of not eating. Like you're not thinking clearly. And so you end up making mistakes. You end up overreacting to a lot of things. There's a lot of things that essentially fail or what you thought are failing. And it led you to the life that you're at now. And you're like, you know what? I am grateful because I have 3 beautiful children. I have people in my life that love me still. I have a house over my head. I might not be where I thought I was gonna be, but this is the path that I am on right now, and let's embrace it, and let's try to even grow further to where we want to be. And so, yeah, there's a lot of things that I feel embarrassed about, or like even just my actions or how I reacted to some things. But it's like, you know what? I was that girl at one point, and I can change and be a different girl from now on and react and do other things differently now. And I think that's great. I think that's the part of being human and life is like, okay, well, we need to move on. We can grow, we can evolve, and that's okay. You're entitled to that.
Yeah, and should be. That is what life is all
Hmm.
about. Don't just give up when you're 40 and say that's it, I'm stuck in my ways. I'm a mom, I'm going to parent and like that's the evolution of me and that's it. It's like, oh, like you can reinvent yourself. You should be pushing yourself for self-growth every decade. And what I love in your story is when you can recognize that in yourself and understand the pieces and the tools and how you can get through hard times and find that growth, then that's a lesson that you can teach your children. You don't
Yeah.
like, I guess for me too, as a parent, I don't want to just teach my kids values or, things that they need to do in their life. I want to teach them that process of how to work through hard things, how
Hmm.
to face a challenge with the tool set and not do it for them, but build those tools for them to be able to do it or see me struggle with it and be able to do it. It's
Yeah,
like that kind
absolutely.
of turning those lessons into what we do for our kids is so important.
And even if, like, okay, if they feel like they fail or if they feel like they're not where they want to be, you're like, okay, what can we do? What other path are we going to take to either get to where you want to be or should we change course? And so I think that's really important to teach your kids as well.
Yeah, and circling back to the very beginning with the food piece then, like at its core for you, and I know for me, I've also had a under eating, overtraining situation in my past, not to your extreme, but there's like that control piece of it that you line back to, being valued. Looking fit and strong, I value that because that's the reflection that I want the world to see of me, that I work hard, that I can do it, that I look strong. And that's what it was for
Hmm.
me. So for you, what was that core value looking back that you were trying to build towards?
Yeah, I think a lot of that. And I was running and working out because it made me skinny and I wasn't eating because it made me skinny. And that's all I wanted was to be skinny. Um, I think now, yes, I still struggle with the body image portion because I do have imposter syndrome because I don't think I'm good enough and I want to be good. But like, okay, now to be good, I have to fuel my body to be good. I have to
Mm,
fuel my body to run 26 miles or to run
yes.
13 or to swim, bike, and run or whatever it is. But yeah, I think a lot of that was I just want to be skinny. I don't care. I'm just gonna do whatever to be skinny.
And do you think being skinny was like, you wanted the validation from the world? Was it your family? Was it just all of your self-worth?
All of it. I think all of it. I think I felt good that I was able to be as tiny as I could. I felt like I was in control. I felt like, okay, if I could just run and be skinny and then that means I'm working hard and that my family and my friends and the world will see me as, oh, she works really hard and she's doing really good type of thing.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think all of it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I do want to touch on for any of the listeners, think I don't think a lot of people know the long-term effects of having an eating disorder. I have 5 missing teeth because my teeth rotted out. I have memory loss issues. I can't retain information really well. It's only within the last, I would say, 4 years that I've been able to be like, okay, I can actually think kind of clearly and like retain some information because your body is just using whatever it has to survive. So everything else kind of goes to the wayside. You lose a lot of hair. It's like postpartum hair loss essentially. And as you see this little like
Yeah, I
film.
think that's really good points to call out. I mean, you're essentially not nourishing your body to function correctly. So that shift to becoming a runner and proper fueling, I mean, that's a wild ride I can imagine in and of itself. Even for me, I did
Hmm.
my first 50K this past year, and the amount of carbs that I was not eating and I needed to be
No.
able to sustain myself, I was like, holy shit. Like, I
Hmm.
am like very far behind where I need to be.
Yeah.
So
I
that
it's
transition in and
crazy.
of itself.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be getting a coach for my next marathon or my next racing season because, again, same thing. I was very much under eating my carbs, and I think that's why I bonked at mile 16 in my last marathon. I mean, I still PR'd, so I'm very, very happy about it, but it wasn't the race that I had thought because I was not eating enough carbs.
Yeah. Which also back to, when you see other people eat or do, you can never compare it to yourself.
Yeah.
Some people, if you look at your friend and what they're eating for dinner and then comparing that to yourself and what you're eating, you cannot compare. You can't just look at body, you're a size 6, I'm a size 6. I'm not a size 6. But you can't just look at someone who like may be the same size as you and assume that, oh, if they're eating that, I should be too. There are
Hmm.
so many things that go into your body, your physique, like your activity level, your unique body's needs when it comes to nutrition. I mean, it's just so wild that I think we often will get stuck in this comparison of I should be eating this amount because that's what all my friends do, or that's what I see, skinny other ladies doing. And it's like, no, you're different. You want to be
Hmm.
strong and fuel for your best performance, whether that's a run or just showing up to like slay the day at work. And with a million kids activities, you don't need to be an ultra runner to fuel correctly. And
No.
just know that you can't compare. You need to eat for yourself and fuel yourself correctly and not think about how anyone else does it.
Yeah, absolutely. First, that's awesome that you did a 50K. 'Cause hats off. That's not easy.
I can go far,
And
not fast. I'm not fast.
see, and I would rather go fast than far. I don't know if I'd ever have the drive to do over a marathon, but I will never say never because I will say I will never do an Ironman, but I'm like, it's kind of fun to do one.
That's how it starts.
I
That's how it
know it's
starts.
so
Maybe just
bad.
one.
Maybe just one. No, my mom and my her ex-husband did 6, I want to say. My husband's done one. And so
Okay, yeah, you got it in
I
the
think I gotta
family.
do one.
You're almost
I
there.
know. But yeah, I agree. I think like you really can't compare of what you're eating versus what someone else eats because we don't know if they have a thyroid issue. We don't know if they have stomach issues, if they're a gluten allergy, like we just don't know. I will say I am the person that's like I see someone eating a Pop Tart or I see someone eating a cookie and I'm like, yeah, you go girl, eat that cookie. And I'm like, I can't. And I really wish I could. I really wish I could just be like, "Yep, I'm gonna have a cookie and I'm fine with it." So that's my next goal is to be like, "Nope, I'm just gonna eat a dessert. I'm gonna eat something fun."
Yeah, and as a runner with a previous eating disorder then, like what does the kind of more daily challenges look like for you now too? Cuz I mean, you've got 3 kids, balancing a bunch of stuff. You're trying to train, focus on nutrition. What are the big things that you're trying to
Mhm.
tackle kind of on a daily basis right now?
Trying not to get my kids to eat my food. And
Because you
it's
eat too little and you want to improve yours, or because of what you're eating, or expand on that?
I mean, like, I'll eat so, like, example, even today, I cut up an apple for myself. Well, my middle one took 2 slices of my apple, and then as I'm putting a slice in my mouth, my youngest, as I'm holding him, he's like, "No, I'm gonna take that." And you're like, "I was gonna eat it." Or, like, I sit down and have yogurt, and my youngest is like, give me some." But then they also snack, and so I feel like it's really hard for me to just snack because if we all are snacking, we run out of snacks midweek and we have a grocery budget, which is not sustainable right now. So that's a really big challenge being like, okay, well, now even with grocery prices, I still need to buy enough food for everyone because I need to fuel myself and my kids because they're boys. It's crazy how much they're 4 and 3 years old.
Yeah, you're not at teenage years yet. It's about to get real
No.
crazy.
Crazy. And I really, and I try to be really mindful of like ingredients in food and not buy foods with like a lot of preservatives or a lot of additive things. And so I'm really conscious of what the ingredients, what we put in. They love mac and cheese. You can have your mac and cheese. So I think also like something that my husband I know really wants me to work on is, you can have the mac and cheese with them too. But let's buy the mac and cheese that like I'd feel comfortable eating. So those are some things that we're trying to work through as a family.
Yeah, baby steps. Baby steps. I think that's one thing that I realized too is I tried to better fuel was like, okay, don't go. I think baby steps is a great way to go. Like if you go real hard in the paint, you're just not going to feel good and it won't be
Mhm.
sustainable. It's almost like trying to lose weight. Like if you go super hard, it's not going to be sustainable. So you need to do something slowly that builds habits over time and the right habits. And so that, it doesn't seem like you're making major progress, but then in 2 years, you formed this lifetime of better habits. And that
Yeah.
will get you in a way better place in life than trying to just do it all at once. I
Mhm.
think that was one mistake that I made was I just went from underfueling and overexercising straight into trying to fuel what my body should be at without baby stepping its way there.
Yeah.
And that's pretty rough too. It's like your GI hates you, it doesn't feel good. And then same thing. I mean, I've always been a confident, love my body type person, but there's still just gaining weight brings up triggers where I
Hmm.
keep asking myself, like, why am I so triggered by this? I am strong, I'm healthy, I'm exactly as I should be, I have energy. So why am I so triggered? And it does come down to, at the core, I think I have a value that's related to the skinnier you are, the leaner you are, the stronger you look, the more you'll validate as just doing, being smarter, working harder, like being that
Hmm.
person that can do it. And I've had to untangle that even as, someone who's relatively confident with their
Yeah.
own body is holy shit, that is the core reason that I just have defaulted to that, I think, for a long time. Making that shift to no, it's about the life that you live and the experiences and what you can do with your body and the energy that you have for your kids and in the future your grandkids. That's what matters. And I think that's is also just what's missing when you're in your 20s. You're not
Yeah.
thinking like that. You don't have that
Mm.
you don't have that viewpoint or
No.
hindsight. You're just like, I don't even know what's happening in the 20s.
Yeah.
That was just a
You know,
wild
there was a whole
decade.
lot of different priorities.
Yes.
So, but I totally agree. And I think too, if you like start thinking like, okay, I'm fueling for my kids and I'm eating healthy for my kids and but I can have treats with them. And I think that kind of it allows you to be okay with a lot of those things. I also had something else and then it just completely went off of it. Mom
Not
thing
a
for you.
problem. Yeah, I also find that it's interesting when you're trying to model and bring your kids up in an environment that wants to have, healthy values around food, value nutrition. I know sometimes I can get in my own head of, am I over indexing on being
Hmm.
like crazy about it in a bad way? Or is it good because I'm reinforcing whole foods and nutrition?
Yep.
Yeah, there's a loop in my head of like, oh my God, like, am I doing it right?
Hmm. I know. I'm terrified of my kids of having an unhealthy relationship with food. And so we don't say fat in our house. We do not comment on anyone else's bodies. And we really try to instill like listening to your body. Are you truly hungry or are you bored? Or are you, is your belly full or is it is your belly still hungry? Then if your belly's still full, you can eat more, that's fine. But also you can stop too if you're not hungry. So
Yeah.
we really are trying to practice that healthy habit and listening to their bodies. But it is crazy how early they notice things.
Hmm.
It's it's a little frightening. And I actually did bring it up to my pediatrician too. He's absolutely wonderful and he works a lot with like mental health through adolescence. And I did like, I just want to know if this is the correct way of going about this because I have disordered eating. My husband tends to overeat to deal with issues. So how do we combat this? And so that has really helped.
Can you share any of the tips that they shared as well? Is there anything that sticks out?
Yeah, kind of the same thing of like reinforcing, my husband love him dearly, but he grew up in the generation of like the Clean Plate Club. And so if you have food on your plate, you need to eat it. Plus, like, he was a farmer and they didn't have a lot of money. So, like, you had to eat the food that was put in
Yeah.
front of you.
Hmm.
I don't know if I mean, he's 10 years older than me. So I don't know if his family did leftovers or if there wasn't even enough food for leftovers. But, like, yeah, the Clean Plate Club. And he's like, yeah. So making sure that they know to stop when they are full, to eat when you're hungry, and to really just practice eating together as a family. And we do try to do that. I mean, I'm with them 24/7 essentially. So I do that breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But as a family, we do dinner very often. And I think that helps a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And yeah, I'm in the stage now. You still have the littles, but I'm in the stage now too where the body image is starting to be a little bit of a thing, like, how do I look in this? Like all those questions, especially having a
Hmm.
daughter, which can scare you. It's like, okay, that's a
Yeah.
normal question. Don't over index on going crazy that there's something going on in terms of no body confidence. Pull yourself out of just going to the nth degree of what could be happening. But one tip I heard that I love is anytime that your daughter or son is pointing something out on their own body, like, do I look good in this? Our natural response is, yes, you do. Yes, you do. Of course you do. Reinforce that they do. Where instead of saying that, try to open up with a why. Well, why do you
Mm,
feel that way? Or why do you care about looking this way? And try to use the why to dig at what at the core is important to them to be able to take it back to what a core value could be. So if it's like,
yeah.
I really want to look good for my friends. And it's like, okay, well, why do you want to look good for your friends? Well, I want to talk with people and have fun. You bring it back to there's a lot of different ways that you can socialize and build your friend group and have friends. And how you look is a first impression that can be a piece of that, but there's all these other components. So it kind of
Hmm.
broadens that aperture of the conversation to be able to bring it back to a core value of the why that they're looking to get at. So I heard that
Hmm.
tip. I forget where I should attribute it. I'll put it in the show notes if I can't remember. But I love that because it is the using that tool of why to not over index on what goes on in our brain, but listen to what's happening in theirs and bring it back to
Yeah.
a core family value.
Yeah, absolutely. Opening up the conversation, I think is really good because then they can process what they're feeling without bottling it inside. I think that's a really healthy way to do it.
Yeah.
Speaking of the sports world, I really love other athletes like Alona Mar. She has a very positive message to little girls or women in general, honestly, because it really shifts your mindset. You're like, she's a great athlete and she is not skinny. So, I mean, she's very fit, but she's not like the typical like skinny runner that you would see. And nothing against skinny runners. That's just we're burning a lot of calories because we're running on a lot of miles. But I mean, she's badass. She is a strong person.
Yeah. And I love that. I think that's the other misconceptions that is being crushed right now, too, is that you have to look a certain way or be a certain way
Hmm.
to be good at this sport. It's like, no, every body type is different. And I mean, I'm like a case in point. I could have never run the 50K I did without gaining the weight that I did and fueling myself properly and being different,
Yeah,
larger and stronger, like crush the 50K for me
awesome.
versus my previous self would not have been able to do that. So I think that there's also that stigma of to be good, you have to look this way. And no,
Yeah.
you need, there's a lot that goes into it. And it's not just being skinny or the size.
Yeah, look at a marathon or an ultimate triathlete. Like, you would not think this person is moving their body as fast, but they are, and it's so cool to see the amount of body types that are doing these things that you're like, oh, well, I really need to like step back and think about um my thoughts on what athletes should look like because a lot of these people are kicking my butt.
Yeah. Strong as the new skinny, I'm here for.
Yeah.
Well, Alex, thank you so much for coming on. It was so
Yay.
awesome to have you as a guest.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Find Your Fuel. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how this story resonated with you and anything else you'd like to hear more of in the future. And if you want to support us, please write a review. It's super helpful in getting new people to discover the show and help other women find the fuel to live their best lives.